Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
We begin this hour, though, with some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. And I know we had some volleyball action, and was it last night?
We did.
And we're going to find out Saturday who is going to be going to states, Brandon. But from last night's results, who are still? I saw Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran fell to Wassa Newman yesterday in a 1-2 matchup for seeding wise. Regis defeated McDonald too.
Correct.
So.
In 4 sets, that's where I was. I mean, we can start there. I mean, honestly, I was really impressed with what I seen out of Regis. I mean, those two teams had played twice in the regular season. McDonald won both of those, including at the end of the regular season when McDonald won the Western Clover Belt title. But I think this is still a really good Regis team too. I mean, they were both ranked highly in the Division IV state coaches rankings, and Regis came out of the gates really strong. And then they won, winning the first 2 sets. McDonald took the third set and was winning in the fourth. They were up, 3 points, I believe. But you're just past the halfway point. But Regis kind of chipped their way back into it and then closed strong. I mean, it was a really impressive effort from Liz Anderson's squad. To be able to kind of get I would say pull themselves off the deck, but just kind of when they were hit with a little bit of adversity there in the the third and into the fourth set, just kind of be able to pull themselves up and be able to close that out. I mean, it's a postseason rivalry game. I mean, that the gym was packed. If you got there late, you weren't having very much luck finding a seat, and it was loud, and it was a very entertaining environment. And now Regis will move on. They'll be taking on Clear Lake, who knocked off Webster in the other sectional semi. They'll be actually back at McDonald on Saturday night, so Regis fans can have a return trip to the same place for Saturday night, and that'll be a matchup to see who goes on to state. Division III, you had a couple of Chippewa County teams that had their seasons come to an end with Grantsburg sweeping Bloomer and Barron, the defending state champions, taking out Stanley Boyd in a pretty high profile matchup. So those teams will meet. That game will actually be at Eau Claire North. Okay. So at least it's scheduled to right now. I mean, I would assume at this point, that change was made pretty quick after, so I'm assuming that's where it's going to stay, but you never know. I mean, we'll see there. Division 5, that's another one that's, we're coming down to it there too. Prairie Farm knocked off Turtle Lake, so Prairie Farm will be taking on Rib Lake, and that'll be up in Frederick. Rice Lake picking up the win last night over St. Croix Falls in 4 sets, so they are still standing. They will be playing in Altoona. They'll take on Wapaka. Okay, that's a Division 2, and then the other Big Rivers team still alive. Not surprising if you follow the Big Rivers, is River Falls. Yeah, River Falls. They are. I mean, they're every year they're inevitable. It seems like when it comes to especially that Division 1 section, they took down New Richmond in straight sets last night. They will take Stevens Point on. That will be Saturday night. That will be in Stevens Point. Okay. I forget the exact number I've looked at, but River Falls has won that section it's 6 of the last 7 of the last 8 years, something like that. Wow. Okay. And I believe they're in that stretch. The only team to beat them was Chippewa Falls, which is in 2022, and that was a 5-set instant classic. That one. So I mean, you're kind of seeing what the Big Rivers has to offer here, with obviously a couple of those two teams still standing. Mm-hmm. But we're getting right down to it. Yeah. But you're right. Saturday, tomorrow, we're going to learn who's heading to Green Bay to the Resch Center next weekend for state volleyball. Is it states cross country tomorrow too? Over at it is in Wisconsin, in your old stomping ground. So, and that's where I'll be spending my day tomorrow. So, plenty to keep an eye on there. I mean, we can start in Division 1 last weekend. Bloomer girls picking up the sectional championship there. So them and they moved up a division, and they are competitive balance rule from the WIA moved them up from Division 2 to Division 1 this year. Mm-hmm. They went out, they won the sectional championship over Menominee. So both those two teams are the ones that will advance. So they'll both be in action. Menominee actually advanced both their boys and their girls team. Their boys team won the sectional team championship. So they, along with Hudson, will be the D1 boys representatives from that section. Okay. And then we've got plenty of individuals going as well. I mean, it's cross country is always one of those sports. It's a bit like track where it's kind of hard to narrow down. Yeah. Because there's just a lot that goes on with the 3 divisions. But right. I mean, there's plenty of local representation in Division 3 for boys. Durand, Arkansas, Cadott, Mondovi. They're all Cameron. They're all going as a team. I know in Division 2 for boys. Seth Rogie is from Bloomers making his third trip to state. He finished 5th last year, was actually winning at the 2-mile mark. So he'll be his last opportunity there. And talked to him a little bit earlier this week, and he's definitely looking to kind of end on a high note there. In Division I for boys, I mentioned Menominee and Hudson. They'll be the representatives from around here. Mm-hmm. Division III for girls, a good contingent heading down there. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, like I said, Cameron going in Division III girls as well. But yeah, just a very heavy representation. And honestly, I think you're going to see a lot of not just teams but individuals too that are going to be poised for strong finishes there. I mean, it's always such a unique event there. Like state cross country, like I would say is one of the more unique events because, especially with you have so many people there, like. The thing I've always wanted to do but I've never done is I actually want to golf at the golf course because I've never seen the golf course as a golf course. I've always seen it as a cross-country course.
Mm-hmm. I've golfed it. It's a good course.
And it looks like it, but I mean there's so much foot traffic that day when you got people moving around and it's the action gets underway tomorrow at noon.
Okay.
The boys race first, so it goes D3-2-1 and then girls 3-2-1.
Okay.
And that within the last few years they've actually moved the starting time back in part because this time of year you get frost, you get stuff like that. So they used to run it earlier in the day, but, a lot of times they would have a frost delay, so they figured, well, why, makes sense. Why don't we just move it back a few hours so that way we generally won't have to do a frost delay so it can stay on schedule a little bit better.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, that'll be the end of the year coming up tomorrow for cross country.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, otherwise we've got a few soccer teams still going on. Hudson picking up the 1-0 win last night over Eau Claire Memorial. I mean, I would like to know how many times those two teams have battled to a 1-goal game over the years. Like if I had $1 for every time that happened, I could probably almost retire because it's just those two are always the class of the not just the Big Rivers, but always two high level Division I programs out of this area that are generally seems like they're meeting in the sectional semis every year. So, but the Raiders move on, so they'll be playing tomorrow to go to states. Otherwise, yeah, I mean it's a pretty. Busy schedule as well. We talked about football going on tonight.
Let's just jump right into football. Should we start with 8-player or 8-player football? Because you look at it, you got Flambeau taking on McDonald Central.
Yep.
1-2. It's pretty much all chalk besides Oakfield on the far bottom right bracket. When you look at it, it's a 1-3. Everybody else is a 1-2. Gilman's going to be taking on North Crawford in a 1-2.
And there really haven't been that many close games so far, but I definitely think that changes tonight.
Yeah.
I think. The 8-player kind of landscape this year was, I don't say top heavy, but like I just think your best teams were much better than your good teams, and you've seen that in the first few rounds. But now, I mean, I'm going to be up in Tony for Flambeau and McDonald. That's going to be I'm very interested to see in that one because Flambeau is such a physical team. Like they have a 2-person run game and some big offensive linemen that have paved the way for some pretty prolific rushing stats. So that's going to be a challenge for the McDonald defense. They're, talking with them a little bit early. They know they're going to have to play a physical brand of football if they want to win that game. Mm-hmm. You go talk about Gilman and North Crawford, a couple of unbeaten teams.
Yep.
Gilman coming off the win over the defending state champions Owen Withy. Mm-hmm. But those are teams on different sides of the bracket. So. Basically all the winners tonight, 8-player, are a game away from state.
Okay.
And that will become next Friday, and those games, I believe, are at neutral sites. So we'll know once those teams are revealed. And remember, when it comes to the 8-player neutral sites, like sometimes you might see some that don't make sense. Like last year, Owen Withy played Highland, and they played in Stanley. So it's like, well, that's not really like I won't say neutral, but it's not really like halfway because that's a bit of a hike for Highland. But remember that there aren't that many fields in the state that support 8-man and then are like capable of doing it, kind of, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and because you want your fields have to be of a certain size because you're thinking you're going to have a bigger crowd because of deep postseason game. So that's just something to keep in mind when if you see some of these matchups and maybe the location doesn't maybe make as much sense as an 11-player one would, simply because there's just fewer options. To be honest. So. But yeah, I mean, we can hop into Division I.
So, I mean, I know Wanakee, but Chippewa Falls is an 8 seed. Because did they beat Hudson as a 1 seed last year?
That was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago, yeah.
Okay, but still.
But yeah, I mean, that was one. Even when I was on here last week, I said I think Chippewa's going to hang. I think Chippewa's going to hang around that game, and they definitely did. I mean, they were winning for much of the regulation, and then it just kind of got away from an overtime. But that was it's a heck of an effort.
Yeah.
And Wanakee, I mean, we'll see kind of how they respond to that. They've got McQuanago, but otherwise you got Hudson, who beat Sun Prairie East, and they actually earned another home game.
Yeah,
because De Pere, as the 7th seed, knocked off Neenah, who was a 2 seed and had an outstanding. For the first 8 weeks, was kind of looked at as being one of the top teams in Division I in the state, and then they kind of ran into some issues in the last few weeks. So Hudson's got a shot to keep it going there. Division II is going to be obviously a busy one for Big Rivers teams around here. You got River Falls and New Richmond both hosting games tonight. River Falls hosts La Crosse Central. New Richmond's got Oshkosh North. Rice Lake is a 2 seed. They host Wauwatosa East.
After they upset Milwaukee King.
Yes, yeah. So then in that, also it's kind of the interesting part of the other half of that Rice Lake section is you got Green Bay Notre Dame as the 1 seed, and you got Slinger as the 4. At least Slinger and Rice Lake, I believe, was the state championship game last year.
Oh, okay.
So that's a potential possibility there. You hop over into Division III. Not really too much from this area. Unfortunately, your Medford Raiders. Their season came to an end. Going back to last week a little bit, though, a great effort for Menominee. Losing 34-31 as a 7th seed to Onalaska. They gave the Hilltoppers everything they wanted to out of a first-round matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a Menominee team that, as one of the smallest teams in the Big Rivers, you always see that benefit, when you're going down division, which they did. They were Division III. Then in Division IV, Osceola and Baldwin-Woodville, a couple middle border teams that are still kicking. You mentioned, we talked about Altoona last week. They picked up their first playoff win in a few decades.
Yeah.
And, with a 54-34 win over Seymour, now they go on the road to Winneconne, a top seed team that's really good. The Winneconne, you can look at the score. They won their opening game 71-0.
Yeah.
But that's a outstanding Winneconne team. Otherwise, that's really, I think, for this area, kind of the lay of the land in D4. D5, a couple teams up north will be hosting games. Grantsburg, Northwestern. Durand, Arkansas picked up the win last week in the first round over River Valley, 50-21. They're going to make the long trip up to Grantsburg to take on the Lakeland champion Pirates. My bad. Otherwise, Stratford's still alive in Division II. They'll have Prairie du Chien tonight.
St. Croix Falls.
They'll be facing Northwestern. Those are two teams that seem like they're always playing in the playoffs. Two conference Heart of North teams that are battling up. Division VI, the top 2 seeds in what I would just probably call the Northwest section, if you will, Regis and Mondovi. They both won their openers, so they'll.
Regis Fall Creek, man.
That's a very interesting one because Fall Creek, and I brought this up before, has played tough teams tough this year, including Regis in the regular season game. So, that's one that I know that Fall Creek has Regis's attention. Obviously there may be some people out there thinking, oh, we could get a rematch with Mondovi in level 3, that kind of stuff. But I knowing Coach Brenner and that staff a little bit, they're not looking ahead. Their focus is 100% on a very potent Fall Creek team coming off a big 40-0 win over Chautauqua Weyerhaeuser.
So you even talked about that Chautauqua Fall Creek game last week.
Right, and that was one that just because of how Fall Creek had played, I said I think that's a game Fall Creek can go on the road and win, and they obviously they won pretty handily. Mondovi's got Bangor tonight. Bangor is always a threat in the postseason with football. That's just a strong program down there. Edgar taking on Poinette, and then just hopping over into Division 7. Boyceville. As a 2 seed, they picked up a 50-12 win. They got Pep and Alba tonight. Otherwise, Cochrane Fountain City, who's had such a great season, with what they did in the Dairyland, and now carrying it over. They got Glenwood City, who advanced by the very unique score of 21-2. I don't know if that would be a high school football scoregami. I feel like that's probably happened before, but it's probably been a bit.
Right.
After Glenwood City knocked off Spring Valley. So, Oliva Strom picked up the win over Blair Taylor. That's another kind of Dairyland matchup. So they make the long trip over to Oshkosh, take on Oshkosh Lourdes. We are, we're week 2 here. And for the postseason, for me, week 2, I don't know, it feels like that's when football postseason really gets going because you have a lot of blowouts in the first round. And you do have good games in there, but it just seems like there are, more often than not, your games are pretty lopsided. But once you get to the second round, you're down to your best 16 teams in each division. So, and I think that's what you're going to see tonight with a lot of these games we brought up, that these are going to be a lot more competitive than maybe most of the games were last week.
Right. Good stuff. That's your local sports. Oh, I should mention, too, UW Eau Claire volleyball. They're going to be, first of all, I was going to say soccer because men's soccer last night shutting down points, so they get the top seed in the WIAC tournament. So congrats to Blue Gold men's soccer. And then football, they're going to be taking on Point this weekend. UW Stout football, they're going to be taking on lacrosse tomorrow. So, plus we're getting some hockey games in. We got some wrestling's got Yellow Jackets open. So that's that unique thing with college sports where we're kind of getting into the postseason for some of our fall sports. We're wrapping up regular seasons, but the winter seasons, some of these teams are starting and such. I mean, we already got basketball for the Blue Gold starting next week. So coming in like fire.